Hey guys, my name's Ollie, otherwise known as Bulcraig, and this is Taking the Bulcraig by the Horns. So, that is, by the way, a very cheesy name that I've decided to call this just off the top of my head. So, there we go. This is going to be a very free-form style of show. I'm going to keep things very natural, despite this being my fourth take. And I am just going to, possibly keep this sort of show relatively unedited until at least I know what I'm doing. But I thought I'd just give this sort of thing a go. So I kind of want to, talk about different things that I like. So just going to read off my notes here because I've prepared some stuff. So I love pro wrestling, video games, board games, comics, geeky things in general, really. Also, a bit of a fitness nut. Unfortunately, at the moment, I can't go to the gym just because of a little injury I've got. Also, love roller derby, and what I want to talk today a bit about is Dungeons and Dragons. Like I say, I think this series can be remaining relatively unedited, relatively untouched, because I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest with you. But I just kind of want to, talk about things, rant about things, just sort of do things how I want to do them, really. And so things like reviews, unboxings, vlogs, sort of general chats, maybe some interviews down the line. See if anyone actually wants to come on this show. I'm not sure, but yeah. So onto today's topic, D&D. So when I sort of first was introduced to sort of D&D, it was those comedy shows that sort of do parodies on D&D. So, whether it be when I did watch Big Bang Theory, there was a couple episodes on there. Community does some excellent episodes on D&D as well. And yeah, sort of, obviously it was always shown as this sort of really ultra nerdy thing. Then, I don't know, when I sort of got into it, fifth edition was already out, and it started to become really, really cool. And I decided, I was brought into a game with a few of my friends. Um, shout out to girlfriend Kathy for bringing me in on that, and our friends from Birmingham, Bournemouth, Maya, Jamie, Hannah, and Nick. So shout out to you guys. And we just started, they already had a pre-existing campaign. They needed another player. I got in on that. I created my gold Dragonborn monk called Rogar Dardendrian. And he is from the monastery, from in a different plane of existence. And he started off as a bit of a stoner character, really, and he went through the Underdark, and he sort of, I don't know, found himself. And we had a bit of a pause in the game, and I said I want him to go back to monastery. He went off to his monastery, and he found that it was completely sort of destroyed. And turns out that it was partly to do with a devil from the Nine Hells, and yeah, basically that's what we're currently dealing with. So that's kind of fun. It's weird because with D&D it feels like this stuff's almost happening to myself, and that's a very sort of cool experience. It feels like, as much as my granddad's generation, he's got some cool war stories and things like that. My generation, we don't tend to have these cool stories we can tell our kids and grandkids, but we do have, I'm hoping I can build some cool stories that I can tell my kids and grandkids through D&D, and that's kind of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. I do also have played a half orc bard who called Dark, who plays Metallica songs to activate his spells, and that's really fun. But he's also got a bit of a serious side with his family. His dad being an orc, his mother being human. There being some conflict, which unfortunately killed the mother. So that's very interesting, and I'm looking forward to getting back to him and sort of exploring that a bit more. Possibly making multi-class as a barbarian. So I have gone ahead and ranted lots about D&D there, and haven't really sort of explained what it is. So basically, Dungeons and Dragons, you have a character sheet, which I will have Rogar's right here. And there's a set of numbers down the side here. You roll a d20, which looks like one of these. And basically, you roll that dice, you add a number. So if I wanted to attack, I rolled 19 there, add my attack to that, that's 11, so that's 30. So that mostly would hit most monsters, but you know, as there's going to be the odd one which it doesn't. And then you roll your dice for damage, and you also add any sort of modifiers as well and things like that. So really it's just, you say what you want to do, you roll a dice, the DM says, the dungeon master, the person controlling the game, says what happens. That's basically the end of it, the lot of it. And it's really fun role-playing game, which I very much enjoy and very much love the escapism of it. So I will show you some stuff that I've got during my time of playing D&D. So that includes lots of dice. Show you some other dice. These are my lucky set of dice. Sort of like a really neon yellowy colour. What other things? Got another set of red dice. These are sort of got a bit of a purple tinge to them. These got a red and black tinge to them, which is cool. Got a few different sets in there. These are the ones that come with the starter set. These are the ones that I got given even before I liked D&D by Sarah and Aaron as a little Christmas gift. They just knew I was a nerd, so they just thought dice. Just funny how things work out sometimes. And then I got a set of gold dice for Rogar, so I thought that was appropriate. Got a load of different sets in here, randomness of D10s, D6s. So with each set of these dice, you get a D4, which looks like a sort of a pyramid. You get a D6, which you would probably recognise from most games of Monopoly. The ones, in Monopoly and such have pips. These have actual just numbers on them. That's what separates them, I guess, makes them better. And you got D8, which looks like a diamond. You've got a D10 and also a D100. So basically, what you do is use D100s are tend to used by the dungeon masters, and basically they can roll against different sets of tables and tells you what's different percentages of things happening and things of that nature. So yes, that's that. You get D12, which tends to be used by barbarians primarily, and then you've got a D20, which is the dice that's most commonly used within Dungeons and Dragons. I also do have a metal set. Here they are. Here's the metal set, which are the best. They're so nice and weighty, and yeah, they're quite ASMR. Oh, so good. So, that's my sets of dice. I will probably buy more because they are fun. So, there's loads of different books you can get for playing the game. Most important, I think, is the Player's Handbook. Also, different gaming shops, they tend to do sort of some different covers of these. But this is a standard cover that you can get off Amazon and things of that nature. You get Xanathars, which I like to call like an expansion pack for D&D. So it's got different characters, some different character classes and stuff like that, or subclasses, I should say. So classes, basically, you've got, your fighter, which is your standard. They fight. A barbarian, which is basically like a fighter on steroids, but a bit dumber. So just your standard sort of gym shark sort of person, really. And then let's go through the player's handbooks of, just in case I forget something. Bard, which is just a really fun class, which is primarily sort of a music-based spellcaster. But you could potentially say I juggle, and that's how I activate my spells. Different sort of entertainer things and they inspire the party. They buff their attack rolls and things of that nature. So that's a really fun class to play. Cleric, which is basically a healer, but they've got loads of cool magic spells as well. You've got Druid, who's a nature-based magic user. Loads of sort of animal altering sort of based stuff. Fighter, like I said. What's that one there? Fighter. Monk, which is what Vergar is, and he is with monks you basically can attack with your fists and do some fun damage like that. And like I said, with each class you got a subclass. So with my character, even though he's gold, he's shadow based, so he can sort of stealth and do some roguey style sort of stuff there, which is fun. You've got Paladin, which is basically like if you take the fighter class and then basically make them holy, and they've got some spell casting stuff with it. So I like to think that barbarians like the fighter, but then they buffed up their their strength, and paladins kind of like they've taken the fighter and then made them more intelligent and sort of spellcastery. Intelligent, actually. I should correct that, because Vidania, our fighter paladin, multi-classer, she's not very intelligent, so yeah, no. And then Ranger, which is just like, again, nature-based sort of fighter, I guess. Mainly uses sort of bows and arrows. Yeah. And then Rogue, who's sort of sneak, and they're fun to play. I should really get playing on Rogue some point. Maybe at one shot I'll go with them. Sorcerer, they are very fun, and they give loads of nice story to the to things. So in one of the games that I played with our groups of friends, my girlfriend Kathy, she played a sorcerer, wild magic sorcerer. In our first fight, she turned from 18 years old to 9 years old, a 9-year-old hanging around with a group of adventurers. That is messed up. So that's kind of fun. And then also in the game that I DM, which I'll tell you a bit about later, my wild magic sorcerer in that, they became 8 inches taller. So that's really fun. You also got different sort of subclasses there. So that I just described the wild magic sorcerer, but there's also different types of sorcerers that you can play. Warlock, which is your which is basically like a magic user that's made a deal with the devil, basically, or patrons, which is what the D&D equivalent is. And yeah, so that's that's kind of fun. They got a bit more darker sort of magic, which is really fun stuff. And a wizard, which is your basic Gandalf, and they are really intelligent. They are book smart. That's how they learnt their magic, was through books. So that's basically the outline of all the sort of different classes. You've got different races of characters as well, which I won't bore you with. If you do want to know, more in-depth stuff, I suppose I can do D&D and more long-form stuff. But that's kind of it in a little nutshell. Also got the Monster Manual, which is great for DMs. It's probably my most used DM book. And yes, different types of monsters. It's kind of a fun book just to be like, oh yeah, I'll just read about the deep gnomes, the sniveler, or the giants, gibbering monsters. I mean, I think that what I love about all of these books is that the art's so brilliant. And then Dungeon Master's Guide, which I like to call basically like, hey, look at all this stuff you can just read. Don't read this during a game, but read it, during the downtimes. And that's kind of how I've used this book. It's like, there's some neat ideas that you can then involve in your campaigns, which is fun. You've got the traditional Dungeon Master's screen as well. So this is where you see on Stranger Things and things of that nature, the guys behind the board, and you're like, what is he doing? What is he doing? And then on the back, there's also some different rules and stuff that you can just quickly grab quickly there. I've even put my own little thing there. I know it's upside down, by the way, but I just kind of want to give you a flavour of what's behind there more than anything. I've got myself the starter set because I'm starting to DM, so I'm playing that through with a group within Cambridge. So that's kind of fun there. That's going really, really well. Since we started, girlfriends started making sort of different dice trays, and this is an old whiskey box. So it's like a whiskey gift box, which is lined with sort of velvety sort of material, and then she has pyrographied some cool things on the sides. So got the sword here, which is made up of the different dice. You've got the D&D ampersand, and then you've got like a little bottom thing there, which is amazing. So she is so talented. And then also just a little bit of a smaller one to travel around with. It's got different elemental symbols on the side there, different dice, and then pencil, which is what we use IRL, and then the sword, which we use in game. So that's kind of fun. Since we started, sort of getting into it more, I decided to buy some little extra things to enjoy outside the game. So that included something that I picked up from CEX, Dungeons and Dragons animated series from the 80s. It's just really fun sort of kids, episodic content, which is just fun to whack on when I just can't think. And then I also picked up this. Basically, it's like a history to D&D, foreword by Joe Manganiello. Yes, that guy from Magic Mike XXL, but also huge influencer within the D&D community, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And it's just a really fun book. We've got the special edition, so it comes with a few extra little bits. So that's really quite cool. Again, with everything in D&D, there's some amazing artwork. So there we go. Probably recognise that from various different various different things you might recognise from pop culture. I also picked up a few things which I found randomly from different charity shops. So, Dragonlance book, which I may start incorporating into my DMing. This is from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is 2nd edition, basically, and also have the Dungeon Master's Guide from 2nd edition as well. So again, you know, this stuff does have slightly different rule sets for the different editions, but you can kind of make some stuff that you like from there and adjust it. I've also started picking up this amazing little comic book series from Travelling Man. Whenever I sort of go by a Travelling Man, which is more of a comic book store that's up to the north. So I went to the York store originally, which is where I first saw this, and I went to Manchester and picked up 2 copies this past weekend. And this is just a really fun little comic book series, which kind of, it's not even actually a comic book series. This is kind of like a issue-based thing where it's got some cool little articles about what to do in your campaign, some stuff, some story that you could play through. It's got some cool articles which kind of go over some D&D theory, which is quite fun. And in this first one, you've also got like a little choose your own adventure, which is just really quite fun to play through. And obviously this is the April issue. I picked up the June and July issue, so these are really fun. If you see these around and you're a big D&D fan, pick these up, because these are a really fun read. So can't recommend that highly enough. And then obviously, as I was saying with my DMing, I've decided to take some of my organisation skills and make my own folder. I got some of these stickers here from a recent Games Expo, and I found the Etsy store link as well, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to put links. I suppose I can put links in the description, I guess. And yeah, that's the other one I decided to. So basically these are all characters from Critical Role, so that's kind of fun. The first campaign, because that's what I'm working through at the moment, on episode 87 of the first campaign. So don't tell me spoilers, please, serious. Yeah, so that's kind of like a lot of my sort of load that I've kind of been working through. Yeah, so I guess the other thing that I've kind of been doing recently is I've been getting into dungeon mastering, and I think one of the things I found about this was that I kind of wanted to get into it because there's so much stuff online now about Dungeons and Dragons, and you know, different live streams and things of that nature. So you know, people that I have started watching more and more online and started to really love their stuff. So you know, Critical Role is a huge sort of live stream, and I think that you know, live streaming video games obviously is something that has become huge money, but I think that live streaming within Dungeons and Dragons is very, very interesting, because you are not only you're watching a gameplay element, you're also watching a story telling element as well, and that's really, really fun. You get so emotionally invested in their game as much as your own game that you are playing through, and yeah, you know, that's really, really cool. So yeah, Critical Role with Matthew Mercer, Taliesin Jaffe, Marisha Ray, Sam Riegel, Travis Willingham, and Laura Bailey, and also Ashley Johnson. And they are all voice actors that you've probably heard. For example, Matthew Mercer, he's from Overwatch, and he's the cowboy. Damn it. I'm just going to quickly Google this because it's going to annoy me if I don't. Overwatch. McCree. He's my favourite. I feel so bad. I haven't played Overwatch in a while, so that's why I blanked on his name. And yeah, so he voices McCree, and he's also voiced Chris Redfield in the newer Resident Evil game, and also like you take, for example, Liam O'Brien. Sorry, Liam O'Brien's another member of Critical Role, another cast member, and he's voiced Red Skull in the Avengers series, or he's also voiced Gollum in the Lord of the Rings games. So it's like you have these huge voice actors, and they're playing D&D, and it makes me want to do better voices for my cats. That's why I started, after we did our little break, I gave Rogar a bit more of a yes, sort of like a bit more of a I'm going to go and punch that guy over there. Yes. That's sort of like, I don't know, mix between Tommy Chong and Lars Ulrich is what I kind of voice him as. So yeah. And other D&D influences like Satine Phoenix, where I watch her do the GM tips on YouTube, and she's such an inspiration in terms of that. And yeah, so I think that it's really fun to watch that. And Joe Manganiello, who's been this huge beacon of positivity within the D&D community, being this guy who is viewed as, he looks like he is built, and he is jock, and he doesn't do anything sort of remotely nerdy, but he does. He plays D&D. He even has his own little games room in his basement, which looks like a dungeon, and he calls it the Gary Gygax Memorial Dungeon. Gary Gygax, by the way, the guy who initially invented D&D. Sorry if I'm preaching to the, to the choir, or the choir as it were, but I just wanted to, anyone who doesn't got any D&D knowledge might want to know this stuff. So that's kind of cool there. And like he dungeon masters for his friends, but also for kids who are terminally ill, and that's really cool. Though his D&D character Archon the Cruel, yeah, he's gonna get beat down from Rogar if we ever meet. Trust me, he is gonna get beat down. Yeah, because basically his character is a red dragonborn who follows Tiamat, the evil dragon goddess, and my guy Rogar, he follows Bahamut, the good platinum dragon god. And so that's as a pro wrestling fan, in kayfabe I hate Archon, but as a shoot I love Archon. He's really fun, and the fact that he's also been put into D&D canon is a really cool thing, and is that hope that maybe our characters can be brought into D&D canon one day if we are very good boys and girls, and other genders. So that's kind of my influences in terms of D&D and how I like to DM. So like I say, I've gone through a session 0, which I would recommend anyone do, to, if starting off DMing, just sort of go through what you want for the campaign, what the story you're going to what sort of story you're going to tell, house rules and character creation, because then this past week we managed to just hit the ground running with characters that we've generated ourselves, and we started telling the story, and it was so much fun. yeah, I think that's kind of where I've gone for. I think I've managed to cover everything. Um, I think really in terms of again, yeah, going into what this series is going to be. It's going to be stuff that I'm going to talk about. Some more D&D stuff in the future. Probably I'm going to talk about different stuff that I think about in terms of sort of pro wrestling. So WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, AEW when it launches, which I'm really excited for. Um, Video game stuff that I do, board games, comics, geeky things in general, sort of fitness stuff as well, if I can fit that in, roller derby, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure if I've got a little bit of a pre-gen sheet here that I've kind of gone off, but it's really, really basically unscripted, sort of unedited, and yeah, so I can just sort of enjoy it. I don't know if how what my shooting schedule is going to be like, and how much time I'm going to have to be able to do this sort of stuff. But I'd like to I'd like to do more. And yeah, I hope that I do. I do want to do some more cool videos like this. Um, but as with anything, life gets in the way. So I'm not sure what my shooting schedule's like. I'd like to be able to say, hey, I'm going to do a D&D thing every week, and then I'm going to, every day would have a different sort of subject. That's what I'd like to get to, but I just need to discipline myself, because that's the thing with things in life, is you need self-discipline, and that's so hard to get into yourself. Um, anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there, and I hope to see you again sometime soon. If you like this video, give it a good old tappity tap of that like button, and give it a subscribe if you like it. I hope that I haven't been too rambly, and I hope that you've seen something that you like, and I'll welcome feedback. Just nothing, just don't be completely horrible, but just give me some feedback, even if it is you are being too rambly, I will accept that and probably do more scripty things. But if you like this stuff, then yeah. But I'm going to wrap it there. Thank you very much, guys. See you next time. Bye.